you accidentally trained your pet to do. Story 1. Edit dog tax. Not me, but my husband. When our dog was a puppy and would fall asleep downstairs, my husband would carry him up to our room to bed. Now our fully grown 4 years old 50 pounds dog thinks the way to go to bed is by my husband carrying him. If you tell him it's bedtime, he flops over and lifts his front back paws up so my husband can scoop him up in his arms. He only does this for my husband. If husband is not home for bedtime, the dog will sulk for a bit and then slowly walk upstairs and put himself to bed by turning to face the wall and loudly sigh. Story 2. He hides in my closet, purposely now because I would coax him out of there with treats, so now when I go to bed, he runs quickly to dive in there, only to re-emerge a few seconds later, loudly crying for his reward. LOL. Story 3. My dachshund demands that I lay on the floor and pet him, have him lick my face. Every night, can't go to bed else he will literally whine and cry until I do it. He learned this when my ex broke up with me. ID lay on the floor playing with him and head lick my tears. No, it's routine. Story 4. Every time I take rubbish out in the evening, ID often grabs some grass for the guinea pigs. They associate with sound. Now anytime they hear the back sliding door, they go apes hit excited waiting for their grass. Story 5. My husband was in too much of a routine waking up every morning. Now if he's not in time to feed the cat, she's upstairs meowing as our little furry alarm clock. Story 6. My dogs jump up and get in their crate's door open when I turn the TV off at nighttime. They know that's the next step. So when they hear the TV click off, they jump up and go wasn't intentional. Kind of think it's funny, even if they're dead asleep. Story 7. One time my cat brought her toy mouse up to me, dropped it, and looked at me expectantly. I thought this was adorable, so I gave her a treat. Then she started doing it all the time. This was kind of annoying, but whatever, still sort of cute. Then when I stopped giving her treats, every single time she started making a god-awful caterwaul while looking at the mouse. Then she started doing that all the time. Now I'm just slowly going insane listening to her make this terrible, terrible noise constantly. Whoops. Story 8. Carry the biggest and most gigantic sticks he can find. Every time he finds a big stick, someone will go, wow, big stick, to the point that now he seeks out the biggest and will try to find another if he doesn't get any compliments. Story 9. My wife likes to nuzzle our cat's face. He now believes that face nuzzles means love and attention. So we'll be reclining on the couch, and he will aggressively headbutt my face out of nowhere, because that means love. Story 10. Whenever I'm about to take my dog for a walk, I change out of my hobo clothes to something more public appropriate. Well, she loves walks as most dogs do. So as soon as I start undressing, she gets really excited, and the tail becomes a helicopter, and she does these excited zoom eyes. I fear what implication will be drawn if a future hookup partner starts to notice that my dog immediately goes from 0 to 100 every time I start getting naked. Story 11. Used to work in a dog-friendly office. I have a long beard, and by being nice to a coworker's dog, I accidentally trained it to like men with beards. On a walk, the dog dragged its owner over to a bearded man, who ended up to be not wearing pants. Story 12. Accidentally trained one of my dogs to chase my cats off my furniture when they start scratching it, but they're adapting to scratching it in areas he can't reach. Story 13. I taught one of my dad's dogs to spin around for a treat. It was really impressive at first, but the issue is that's the only trick he does no matter what you say. Sit, he does a spin. Lay down, he does a spin. Paw, he does a spin. Still very cute, though. Story 14. How to peel oranges. We used them as a temporary replacement for a ball. He then learned to tear off the peel without making mess and feasts on its juicy innards. Edit. My pet is a Yorkshire Terrier, for those asking. Story 15. I taught my dog how to spell. Who wants a cookie? Would mean head run to the cookie cupboard. Then he started running when I got to who. So I had to start spelling C-O-K-I, or else head go nuts. Well, he learned what that meant too. Then he realized that C meant go to cupboard. He also knew all his toys by their names. Smartest dog I ever had. Story 16. On command. For real, it started as me getting her out to do her last tinkle of the night, and I would say tinkle time, and she would promptly go tinkle. Now, if I say tinkle time in the city, she will. I honestly don't know how I did it. But every long car ride, she does a tinkle time in the city before we go bite power cords to get my attention, and it's always going to keep working because I don't want to let him die. If it was anything but that, I'd ignore him, but he found my Achilles heel, and it's not wanting him to get electrocuted. Story 17. I had a dog who was pretty and sweet, but occasionally not too bright. She could not seem to learn how to sit on command. My late ex finally taught her after about a month of working with her. But she would only sit at the exact spot where he was teaching her to sit, and facing only in the one direction she happened to be facing for the lessons. She would not sit anywhere else or facing any other direction. LOL. It was very frustrating, but we loved her anyway. Story 18. Pets on the stairs. My one cat, and I have this game called Peek a Kitty. I hide behind the pole. She sits on the banister, I pop my head around besides, and she tries to find me. At the end of the game, I run to the middle of the steps, she comes with me, and I pet her. Story 19 accidentally trained my ex-wife's to, or bite, whenever he wants to go back to his cage. I would regularly let him out of his cage to play with him, so he's not locked up all the time. But sometimes he'd want to go back to the cage to eat, drink, or do things, but he's too much of a lazy to just fly back to his cage. But whenever he would on meth couch, or bite me, I'd get upset at him and put him back his cage as a timeout. Well, he put 2 and 2 together and figured bidding, or shitting means going back to the cage. He's lucky he's cute. Story 20, whenever we're like 100 yards from our house, he takes his leash in his mouth and starts trying to play tug-of-war with me. Not sure why he does this, but if I drop the leash, he prances up to the front door with his leash in his mouth. He also starts getting rowdy right at 5 p.m. when he knows I'm done with work. I work from home BC. He knows it's his time for more attention. He also wakes me up at 7 a.m. with a paw to the face BC. It's his breakfast, and starts whining at 6 p.m. when it's his dinner time. He has an annoying sense of time. He knows all the places in our neighborhood where he gets treats, the coffee shop, the pet store, whole bowl food cart, even his vet. And if we're anywhere near these places, he will refuse to walk any other direction. But to these places, this is super annoying. Story 21, I don't have my own dog, but my landlady got a new puppy recently, and I accidentally taught the little guy to climb the stairs to my quarters. The landlady's other dogs don't go up the stairs since their family lives on the ground floor, but the puppy must have seen me climb up the stairs to get to my quarters, so he started doing it. He never does it when the landlady is around. Story 22, she will not go up staircases. She dislocated her hip, and I carried her up and down ours for a few weeks per the vet's instructions, and now she's decided this way is better, and ID say it's more like she trained me. Thankfully, she's a Chihuahua. Story 23, taught him to ring a bell when he wants to go outside. The intent had been to have him ring the bell when he needs to go outside for the bathroom like I've always trained my critters to do. Instead, he learned bell outside. Neighbor lets dog out, bell rings, dog goes out and barks. Instead of peeing, leaf blows in front of the window, bell rings, dog goes out and barks. Instead of peeing, get on a conference call. And stop playing with him, bell rings, ignore, because he probably saw a car drive by volume of P4x the volume of the dog all over the living room and kitchen. Story 24, bark at the sound of food sizzling on the stove or in the oven. We have a very sensitive Smakiko detector in the kitchen that goes off when we are cooking. The dog always barked when it went off, and my wife decided to reward him for that, thinking it would be good if we had a fire. The dog now associates the sound of sizzling food causing the smoke alarm going off and barks at it. Story 25, my Great Dane was deaf, so I used to throw a ball or something and hide. She learned to be always alert to make sure I was there. So every time we went to a park or somewhere similar, I didn't need to worry about she going far or getting lost. Story 26, now my dog won't sit unless I'm holding a treat. Like he knows the difference between a command with a treat and without, and he's not going to perform until I give him the treat. So it's not so much that I've accidentally trained him to do something, as it is that he's actually trained me to give him treats. Story 27, prod me in the chest for attention. Our biggest cat congenitally can't retract his claws all the way, so when he starts prodding my shirt is in danger of getting hold if I don't respond. The little one learned it by watching him. Story 28, the day I realized I could turn to my family dog and tell her call the dog, and she would go hunting for my mom through the house was the best day. She'd shoot away checking her computer desk, the recliner, run upstairs into my mom's room, and then I'd hear my mom shouting from the toilet in her bathroom. BC, the dog, happily let herself in. Story 29, a friend's parrot learned to announce his poops. His name was PJ, so every once in a while you'd hear him say, PJ go poopy, pause for, good boy, while he did a little dance, adorable and hilarious. Story 30, I've trained our dogs that when they come back inside, I give them a treat, so now they rush outside, stand right outside the back door, then rush inside to the treat bin and wait for a treat without having done their business. Story 31, whenever my cat would meow and make noise, and I would pick her up and give her a hug. Now, if I don't pick her up, she gets louder and louder to the point of being obnoxious. She does this 3 or 4 times a day now. She is still the sweetest kitty. Story 32, whenever an animal came on TV, I would say, who's that, and point, and my dog would bark. It was cute at first, but now she goes crazy anytime an animal or mascot comes on TV and doesn't stop barking until it's gone. I'm no longer able to watch Animal Planet. Story 33, pee in the bathtub. Like any normal super young pup, my dog would pee as soon as she got out her crate. Well, I lived on the top floor of an apartment, and my puppy couldn't make it down all the way outside to pee. So I started taking her from her crate and placed her in the bathtub. She couldn't jump out while I got dressed. By the time I was dressed, she had peed and wanted to eat. Now she jumps in the bathtub if she has an emergency, and I clean my tub as soon as I discover her work. Story 34, if I tell him to pickle drag, he will drop to his belly, legs out behind him, and drag his junk across the floor. I think it's hilarious. The women in my life, not so much. Story 35, I taught her food in my mouth currently. Is food for her, she doesn't really have teeth, and so I would chew up a people food treat for her. Now anytime I'm eating, I have to show her my empty mouth at the end before she believes I don't have anything for her. Story 36, we wanted to teach our dog paw, or shake in America, which was great, and she loves it. The only problem is she senses a reward every time she randomly puts out her paw. So when we play with her, she just keeps handing us her paws. The cutest accidental training ever. Story 37, if he wants to sit on the couch where I'm sitting, he will scratch at the back door. As soon as I get up and open the door, he runs and lies down where I was sitting. So actually I didn't accidentally train him, he trained me. Story 38, we had the cat drink water out of glass, and now that is the only way he will drink water, and it has to have ice in it. Also, he wants his wet food at 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. every day, even though he always has dry food in a bowl. He gets a tablespoon of wet food, and he is happy. Story 39, our cat was curious to drink out of the faucet in the bathroom. Now he acts like he's dying of thirst, and that he forgot how to drink from the bowl, which we replace every day or second day. He demands water now at 5 a.m. Little. Story 40, eating peas right off the plant. Our wiener dogs love vegetables. I made the mistake of showing them where we get fresh peas from. My wife no longer lets me anywhere near the garden. Story 41, I accidentally harness trained my cat. He was so obsessed with going outside with the dog that he would scream and cry. So I carry him out. Eventually this led to us just trying a harness on him to let him roam. Now he waits by the door and lets me put it on him every time he screams to be let out with the dog. Story 42, when I live alone, I had a big old sweet fat cat named Gus. Every morning I'd walk into the kitchen to make coffee and give him food. I kept it in a bin under the sink, and when I would bend down to get it, being that it was first thing in the morning, the effort of squatting and lifting it would frequently cause me to. At some point I noticed that if I happened to expel any gas at any other time or place in the apartment, Gus would run to his bowl. Calling the cat became my little euphemism for flatus, and I was known to sometimes crack one out as a party trick. I love that cat so freaking much. R.I.P. buddy. Story 43, this is both sad and sweet. I got my cat right before going to college when he was a kitten. I graduated high school early and started college at 16. I went to school across the country and had never been away from my family before. So, being a young and isolated teenager, I was sad at college a lot. So, my cat is a polydactyl, meaning he has extra toes. I cuddle him and make a big deal out of his extra toes. Somewhere along the line, my cat figured out paw's human happiness. Well, when I moved away for college and would get homesick and cry, my kitten would run up and wave his paws in my face trying to make me happy. Years and years later, he still does this. I recently had a C-section that came back open, just mild separation, but hurt like after my toddler head butted me right at the incision spot the day I got home from the hospital. I started sobbing and my cat freaked out, ran across the room, and started frantically waving his front paws in my face. He's normally a complete who hates every human and mildly tolerates me, but he is still the best kitty in my eyes. Story 44, as a puppy, whenever a rogue ice cube would fall out of the dispenser, we'd kick it over to her. Now, whenever someone's getting ice, she comes racing over expecting an ice cube. Story 45, wince whenever I raise my voice above a conversational level. For instance, if I stub my toe and yell shit, he thinks I'm yelling at him and tucks tail. In all fairness, the POS that owned the dog before I got him probably did that to him. He is a rescue animal with high anxiety. Story 46, this wasn't on accident, but I regret doing it. Train my dog to open doors in the house. Now he just barges into a room with a closed door whenever he wants to. Story 47, my cats climb ladders to our beds. Both mine and my brother's. Also, if the kitchen cabinet were to open, 3 out of 4 cats come running for treats. The one left out stays on the cat tower, my dog. Although a very good boy, sadly he is deaf. He is trained to follow someone after either making eye contact or by tapping a visible surface, mainly the thighs, twice. He also knows to go to the back door after doing his business by us flashing the porch light twice. Story 48, I train my cat to do the bottle flip challenge by lining up water bottles on the counter and giving him a treat when he'd knock one off. At some point I succeeded, and I filmed him landing a bottle upright. But now, even years later, he still thinks that knocking objects off the counter means I will feed him. Big mistake. Story 49, I got a show, Ready Siberia Husky, when he was a year old. Previous owners mistreated him and half-trained him. I was trying to teach him the basics: sit, stay, back up, etc., and while I was working with him on sit, he wasn't getting it. At some point, I got mildly irritated and just blurted out, "Dude, park your butt," which he immediately responded to. So from that moment on, anytime I needed him to sit, I just told him, "Park your butt," and he would listen. Story 50, my dog is desperate for attention, even for a dog. As with most little pets, once in a blue moon we might get her with a foot if she is glued to our heel or sit on a tail accidentally, but afterwards we shower her with love and apologies. So now she gets pretty excited if someone accidentally hurts her, which is an interesting trait. Story 51, my dog will check his food bowl, then walk to the door and whine to go out, stand on the porch, whine to come in, and make a run immediately for the food bowl. Rinse, repeat. This is because I refilled his bowl a few times while he was outside, so he wouldn't harass me while I was scooping it out. Now he expects food every time he goes out. Story 52, jump on people who come into the house and nail them in the crotch with his front paws. When people would come into the house, he would get excited and run to them and jump up to be pet with his paws out in front of him. Just the right height to nail the average adult male in the crotch. To get him to stop, my wife would call him and give him a treat. Did not take long for my dog to nail someone and then run to my wife for a treat. Story 53, my fiancé has trained one of our cats to jump on a person's back if they bend over for any reason because he likes to have her stand on his shoulder while he walks around, and he bends down to have her jump up on his shoulder. If a person is not expecting it, it causes them to jump from surprise, which then causes our cat to dig in her claws to prevent herself from falling or launch off of their back, leaving long scratches. Either way, it's painful and leaves deep scratches, putting on shoes, emptying the wastebasket, turning on water in the bath. All potentially dangerous activities. Story 54, pick up sticks for treats. My dog loves sticks and will pick up as many as he can to eat them while on a walk. My partner and I are trying to discourage this behavior. So whenever my dog would pick up a stick, would say drop it, and if he dropped it, he'd get a treat. Now he picks up sticks and drops them right away to get treats. He's learned to play the system. Story 55, I play with him after work and I with from home. So now when my cats will grab my arm if I'm still trying to work, when it's quitting time, they do not understand the concept of overtime or having to work later because I flex my hours around an appointment. Story 56, we accidentally taught our dog a trick called Show Me Your Bone. Whenever anyone gets home, he gets very excited and grabs a plastic bone, which is his favorite toy, to show it to you. You are allowed to look at it, to admire it, and appraise it, but you're not allowed to touch or take it. If someone comes home and he can't find the bone, he gets a little distraught looking for it. Story 57, my puppy loves to play fetch. She figured out that if a ball is in my lap, I will for sure throw it. She can now flick a tennis ball from about 5 feet away into someone's lap with shocking accuracy. Story 58, our dog Belle growls at people when she wants to be petted. I don't know how it started, but we reinforced her behavior by explaining to people Belle will not bite them. She's growling at them because she wants to be petted. People look at us like, WTF. Amazingly, most people will go against their natural instincts and tentatively reach out their hands and pet her. They are so relieved when Belle wags her tail in appreciation instead of gnawing their arm off. Sorry, guys. Story 59, every morning my alarm goes off at 6:30. At 6:31, my little baby kitty will pry the door open and start asking for breakfast. She had started to do this on the weekends. My alarm doesn't go off on the weekends. Story 60, to knock things off the kitchen counter when he's hungry because I always come running in case it's glass or whatever and inevitably feed him just to stop him misbehaving. Story 61, I accidentally trained my dog to expect to be tucked in at night. It started one night when it was really cold and I invited him into the bed. Well, he liked snuggling up right next to me, but he's got a short coat that would irritate my skin. So to keep him from getting right up against me, I used the blanket as a barrier and tuck it under him, so he couldn't scoot up next to me. Well, it didn't take long for him to expect that. The funniest part of the whole thing was when he would get up in the middle of the night to get water or whatnot. He would paw my shoulder to wake me up so that I would tuck him back in. Story 62, know me, but my brother. My cat spent a month in quarantine at my parents' house after he got his shots, and before I could fly him to the country I'm living in now. My brother has a big office chair, so he got the cat used to sleeping behind him on his very spacious chair. Cat was 6 months, so he was also smaller. I, however, have a normal IKEA chair, but the cat still wants to sleep behind me, will not take no for an answer. So I have to spend hours sitting on the very tip of the chair, straining my back to make sure I don't slouch. Yes, my back is pretty much effed up. Thanks, bro. Remember another one. We feed him dry food, but after dinner he gets a little bit of wet food. When I'm preparing it, I always get a small fork. He also learned that before I eat a yogurt or ice cream, I always get a small spoon. So now, whenever I open the cutlery drawer, I get his attention, no matter where he is, no matter how deep his sleep. I have tried to be as silent as possible when I want to eat dairy, without having to fight the cat for it. I have yet to be successful, Story 63. I train my dog to sneeze on command. I don't know if it's an actual sneeze, but sometimes he will actually sneeze several times right after. I was training him to whine on command because he had a really cute whine. He had a hard time understanding, and somehow he decided I wanted him to sneeze. So I kept up the rewarding every time he sneezed, and now he will do it if I ask. Story 64. My husband calls our dog with a single smack lips kissy sound. Doesn't matter where he is, inside or outside, he will come. He must associate it with the best loves and cuddles. On the other hand, I was trying to get the pup to back up out of a room for whatever reason. He figured out what this meant at some point. So my pup turned around where he was standing in the doorway and backed up into the room I was trying to get him out of. He turned and looked at me with the face that says, "Was that okay?" And I couldn't believe that just happened, and gave him cuddles and kisses. Story 65. I don't give my dog treats or share my food unless she sits first. So now if I got any food whatsoever, she'll come up to me and sit. She's got me wrapped around her little paw, and I love her. Story 66. I had put my 7-year-old son to bed and was in 5-year-old daughter's room, saying goodnight, with our Westie following me. At some point, my son appeared at her door, and I wearily said go to bed. To him, suddenly my dog gets up snarling and chases him back to his bed, nipping at his pajama, but son was laughing hysterically, and dog returned to daughter's room. Looking for my approval, I was like, WTH. Son showed up again, and he was nipped back to his room again. We switched and had daughter show up to son's room, and she got the same treatment. Dog would ever after chase anyone into bed, friends, me, dad, and at any time of day if you told that person to go to bed. Such a sweet little dog was so happy to help me get everyone out of my hair. Story 67. I use a head harness for my dog. Helps to reduce his pulling since it clips under his chin. So when I open it up, he will put his nose through without me saying anything. Also taught him how to high five. He naturally loves to jump up. So instead of just asking for a paw, I put my hand up and held jump up to give me a high five. Story 68. My cat doesn't like toys and doesn't have any friends. I can't let the little guy just sit there and never play, so I play fight with him, and he loves it. I let him win too many times, though. Now if he sees a dangling hand or unsocked foot, you bet he's going to seize the opportunity to bite your digits. Story 69. My palm demands a kiss when I get out of the shower. She will stand on her 2 little legs doing the palm beg until I bend over and give her a little kiss, which usually is wet from water from the shower. In the mornings, my Chihuahua would leave my bed, and as I got ready in the mornings, he would join my husband on his little pet bed in the office while he played video games. Well, my husband got a larger setup and moved his office into one of the guest rooms instead. However, my Chihuahua still wakes up and goes to his little bed in the empty office still. He's 16, mostly deaf, and is losing sight in his remaining. So I don't know if he realizes he's solo, haha. Story 70. The explanation is a bit odd, but when it's time to go to bed, my beagle won't budge until I ask her, do you want a dog in the... She goes ape and sprints her bed every night. Story 71. She knows if she barks in the middle of the night, he'll get up and walk to the back door to let her out. One night, I got to the door, and she wasn't following me. I go back to the bedroom, and she's stretched out on my pillow. I trained her to get me out of bed, so she can take my spot, clever girl. Story 72. I managed to train only one of 3 cats to go into the bathroom. When the light switch was turned on, he could be in the basement, but he would hear it and come running. And it's only the one light switch. No one can pee in peace now. It started because we had to separate him for meals. He got locked in the bathroom and given special food while the girls got regular food. Story 73. My mom unknowingly taught her dog to annoy her until she gives her dog a treat. My dog will come up to my mom for either attention or scratches, but my mom will usually be in the middle of something, so she'll just give the dog a treat to placate her. But now her dog realized that if she annoys my mom, she'll get a treat. Now she does this every single day. Story 74. Not me. My son taught our dog something hella annoying. Okay, I have 2 dogs, one I got in 2012 as a pup, and then adopted one in 2014. Great dogs in for the most part. We also have 2 human children. The first one, whenever he would cry, got 0 reaction from the dogs. Kid number 2 now, 18 months. No matter how slight of a whimper, cry, or expression of discomfort both dogs whines, cry, moan, howl, or any combination of those, they will continue to do this even after he stopped. Story 75. I taught him to tap his paw at the back door when he wants to go out, but now he taps at anything when he wants what's nearby. Tap at his food bowl when he's hungry. Tap at his toy box when he wants a toy that's stuck. Tap at his lead when he wants to go for a walk. Tap my arm when he wants pats. Tap, 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 tap. IT never ends. Story 76. My dogs vacate the room when I say. Usually it's about work, and they now associate me saying with me being angry, so they get the out of dodge. Story 77. My cat purrs when I speak to him in German. We're American. I used to practice my German on him when he was a kitten. Now if I look at him and say, Ich liebe dich mein klein Katze. He starts purring like a mad cat. He's so sweet. Story 78. My husband taught one of our cats to fist bump, which is really cute. This is the same cat that learned head boops mean love, and he will aggressively show you how much he loves you. I take meds for depression and anxiety at certain times every day. I get a pill. Kitty gets a treat. I might forget about my meds, but the kitties never forget their treats. It's a great backup system. Story 79. When my husky was a pup and a bit too little to run up the steps, ID set him in the bathtub so he could drink out of the bath faucet. So that's what he always did. So ID have to get up, turn the water on, let him drink and shut off. Since he did that, the husky pup I got last year learned that from him. It gets to be a pain in the getting up, turning the water on, waiting for him to drink, shutting it off, sitting back down. Then the other husky wants to do the same. Repeat that process. I try to break them of the habit, but they'll just lay in the tub all sad until I turn it on, and it's ungodly cute. Story 80. I already posted something else, but I have to add that my neighbor's outside cat now knows what time I come home from work and will be sitting in my driveway as I pull in waiting for me to give him treats. Story 81. My partner's cat is a fat ass, and if it's anywhere close to mealtime, like up to 2 hours before any mealtime, start trying to lure you over to the pantry. As it gets closer to breakfast dinner time, turn the cute up higher and higher to woo you. If you get up and decide to get food of your own, follow you and meow excitedly. Thinking his mind trick has worked. Then when you get your food and shut the pantry door in front of his eyes, look at you as if to say, why would you do this? Expect treats every time she wakes up from a nap. She wasn't eating well for a couple of weeks. Vet said nothing was wrong. Maybe try to tempt her with nibbles every few hours. It went very well. Too well. So now I'm trying to distract her with toys when she wakes up. That's not going quite as well. Story 82. My wife taught our Akita to pee on the balcony and furthermore on the illegally parked cars below it because she was too tired to walk him when she got home from work. Story 83. Cat was in the kitchen and started coughing, hacking up a fur ball. So I scooped him up and put him outside. Next night, Cat wants to go out, but it's dark and we keep him in. Cat does the fake-ass fake cough, then runs to the door to be let out. Nice try. Story 84. We use the harness dog seatbelt thing. A few times she would jump out of the car before we unclipped it and was left dangling there awkwardly. Now, she waits until we say it's okay, totally refuses to get out of the car unless we tell her she's good. If she moves forward and I saw no, she will instantly stop and panic back away from the door. No training. She learned through awkward experience. Story 85. My rabbit Binky's flips, runs and jumps, does zoom eyes and cute stuff when he hears his food bowl being opened. He knows that once the security light comes on outside his room at night, that food is coming, so he sits next to the door until I come in to deliver the goods. My brother's cat knows that when my brother goes to the bathroom, that hell gets sink water. A few years ago, he had a bad UTI and had to run water to help him pee. The cat came into the bathroom and drank when he forgot to turn the water off, and since then it's been their thing. Story 86. My cousins and I would get salamanders out of the creek by my house and put them in a Tupperware bowl to look at them for a while. My dog caught on and eventually started catching us dozens a week. Didn't hurt them either. Story 87. After I put food in my dog's bowl, he won't eat until he kisses the cook. I only trained him to sit and give me his paw, but as a small pup, he would kiss me out of excitement. Now he thinks it's a must as a larger puppy. Story 88. Run through you to get out the front door and then go run to the car and jump in a window. My dog is also 150 pounds of muscle and broke a window one time.